mockery. The great hall of the Galactic Council shone with crystal light, its ceiling alive with the glow of thousands of stars projected from the core of the chamber. Delegates from every corner of the galaxy sat in wide circles, their jeweled robes glittering, their voices rising in laughter. And at the very center, on the lowest platform, stood the small and quiet envoy from Earth. The aliens looked down on him as if he were a child lost in a storm. They mocked his size, his posture, and his simple clothes. To them, humans were nothing more than a primitive species that had barely left their home planet. They had no teleportation drives, no quantum fleets, no centuries of empire behind them. To the Council, Earth was a joke. One tall creature with silver scales and a crown of horns leaned forward. His voice echoed through the chamber. "You dare to sit among us, human? You who still burn chemical fire to fly between your moons?" The laughter that followed rolled like thunder. The envoy from Earth did not answer. He kept his eyes calm, his hands folded, his silence sharper than any blade. Another delegate, with wings like glass and eyes glowing blue, hissed in amusement. "Perhaps we should assign Earth a proper role. They can scrub the halls of the Council, polish the glass, and carry our books. That is all their kind is good for." The chamber roared again with cruel laughter. Even the guards at the walls smirked at the insult. But behind the envoy's still face there was no shame. His eyes scanned the Council chamber, his gaze locking on each alien that laughed at his people. Each insult, each sneer, each sound of amusement was recorded in his memory. And far away, hidden in the shadows of Earth's orbit, machines were already listening, already transmitting, already preparing. The Council leader, a being with skin like living stone, lifted his heavy arms to silence the noise. "Earth is no threat," he declared. "They are too small, too fragile, too late to rise among the stars. Their voices mean nothing here. Their strength is less than the dust on our boots." His words were calm, but his tone was cruel, as if carving Earth's place in the universe with a hammer. The human envoy finally raised his head. His voice was steady, clear, and without fear. "We came here in peace, we came here with respect. But you choose to laugh, you choose to call us weak. You choose to treat us as less than dust." His words echoed in the chamber, and though he spoke softly, every alien leaned forward, surprised that he dared to speak at all. The horned delegate bared sharp teeth in a grin. "And what will Earth do, little man? Throw rocks at our fleets? Build slingshots to reach our worlds?" The chamber roared again with endless laughter. The envoy did not laugh, he did not smile, he simply looked at them, as if weighing them, measuring them, and writing their fates in silence outside the chamber. In the void of deep space, a shadow moved. It was not seen by the Council. It was not noticed by the arrogant fleets that circled their shining worlds. It was a human ship hidden in dark matter fields, its engines cold, its weapons silent. It watched, it listened, and it waited. The envoy lowered his head as if defeated, as if crushed by their endless scorn. He turned to leave, his steps slow and calm. The Council burst into one final round of laughter, the sound rising to the crystal ceiling like cruel music. They believed they had broken the human. They believed they had crushed Earth with words alone. But as the envoy stepped out of the chamber, he whispered to himself so quietly no alien could hear, "The stars will remember this day." And somewhere beyond the rim of the galaxy, deep in the shadows where no alien dared to look, the first signal pulsed through the black. It was a call, a command, a whisper of vengeance. The black armada of Earth stirred from its slumber. The Council had mocked Earth, they had laughed. They had called humanity nothing. They had believed their power eternal. But in the silence of space, vengeance was already taking form. The envoy did not smile as he walked away. His face stayed calm, his heart steady, his mission clear. He had come not to argue, not to beg, not to bow. He had come only to listen, to remember, and to return with fire. The Council did not know it yet, but their laughter that day would be the last sound of their arrogance. The day would come when their fleets would burn, their voices would fall silent, and their stars would shake with the fury of Earth. For humanity had been mocked, and humanity would answer. Whispers of Earth's secret in the weeks after the Council meeting. The laughter still echoed across the galaxy. The great empires told stories of the foolish humans who dared to stand among the stars. Tales spread like fire, mocking Earth's weakness. Children of alien worlds joked about humans building wooden ships. Merchants laughed that humans used metal bullets instead of beams of light. To the galaxy, Earth was nothing but a story of shame. But beneath the silence of Earth's skies, Another story was unfolding. Nations that once argued now sat together. Their voices low, their faces hard. For the first time in history, Earth was united. Factories roared without pause. Flames and smoke rose into the night sky, carrying with them the sound of hammers and engines. Every city built not just for life but for war. The Black Armada was no myth, it was real. Hidden in the dark side of Earth's moon. Hidden beyond asteroids, hidden under shadows of silence. The ships did not shine with beauty like alien fleets. They were not carved with gold or shaped with art. They were iron, steel, and wrath-given form. Rumors began to spread in alien markets. A trader claimed he had seen a human vessel move faster than light. Another whispered that an alien patrol ship had vanished near Earth's border. Some said Earth was building weapons never seen before. Weapons that tore matter itself apart. The Council laughed at such stories. They said humans had no science, they said humans had no skill. Yet still the whispers grew louder. On a mining world at the edge of the Council's territory, a patrol ship drifted into silence. Its last message was a scream, a flash of static, and then nothing. When the wreck was found, days later, the hull was torn open, not by beams of energy, but by solid slugs of metal that had pierced straight through shields and armor. The report reached the Council, and the delegates dismissed it as an accident. But the younger officers, those who studied war, looked at each other in fear. They had seen such damage before, in ancient wars that left galaxies bleeding. Meanwhile, in hidden chambers on Earth, scientists worked with fierce silence. They did not build teleporters. They did not chase the toys of the Council. Instead, they perfected what they already knew. Railguns that hurled death faster than thought. Missiles that hid in shadows and struck with iron fury. Armor that bent under no weapon, and above all, unity. Every mind, every hand, every heart of Earth working as one. The human envoy who had stood in the Council chamber walked among the shipyards now. He spoke no words of the insults he had heard. He carried only a small recorder, replaying the voices of those who mocked Earth. Weak, fragile dust, they had called his people. Every laugh was fuel, every insult was fire, and that fire spread across every builder, every soldier, every child who dreamed of vengeance. In the far reaches of the galaxy, alien spies tried to pierce the veil. They sent drones, they sent disguised ships. They sent whispers among humans, but they found nothing. Every attempt ended in silence. The closer they came to Earth, the more their signals vanished. It was as if the shadows themselves devoured their machines soon. The galaxy began to fear the silence more than the laughter. On one distant moon, an alien general spoke to his soldiers. "Beware the quiet enemy," he warned. "The one who smiles and says nothing. The one who takes insult and answers with silence. That is the one who strikes hardest." His words were dismissed by his superiors, but they lingered as whispers always do. The Council prepared another declaration to remind Earth of its place. They spoke of crushing the humans with a single fleet if they ever dared to resist. They believed the humans had no courage, no power, no reach, yet even as they spoke, human ships were already testing weapons in the void. A single missile fired into empty space shattered an asteroid into dust. A railgun bolt fired from the moon reached its target in less than a heartbeat. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the weapons roared. The whispers grew into rumors, the rumors into warnings. Alien traders refused to fly near Earth. Captains changed their maps to avoid human space. Some said they had seen shadows moving where no ship should be. Some said entire fleets vanished into nothing. And though the Council still mocked, the ordinary people of the galaxy began to wonder. Perhaps, they whispered in dark corners, the humans are not weak. The envoy returned once more to the chamber of Earth's leaders, his voice steady, his eyes sharp. He said only one thing: they laughed at us. Now let us show them silence, and his words were enough. For the world already knew what had to be done. In the heart of the galaxy, the Council still laughed, but their laughter was thinner now. Behind it lay a flicker of unease, for though they did not admit it, though they did not speak it, the whispers of Earth's secret had already reached their ears, and the stars themselves waited, for they knew silence is never empty. Silence is only the breath before the storm. The Galactic Warning. The Galactic Council grew restless. The whispers about Earth refused to fade. Delegates who once laughed with open mouths now whispered in quiet corners. Reports of lost ships, destroyed patrols, and strange human weapons could no longer be denied still. The leaders of the great empires did not believe. They told themselves it was chance. They told themselves it was rumor. But in their hearts unease began to grow. At last, the council called another assembly. The hall glittered once more with crystal light, but the laughter was weaker this time. Delegates shifted in their seats, some hiding their worry behind forced smiles. The leader of the council, the being of living stone, rose to speak. His heavy voice shook the chamber. These humans forget their place. They whisper in shadows, they build in silence. They think themselves clever. It is time we remind them who rules the stars. A warning was drafted, sharp and cruel. It told Earth to surrender its fleets, to destroy its weapons, to bow before the council or face annihilation. Copies of the warning were carried by envoys across the galaxy. Some delegates cheered, believing the humans would crawl and beg. Others stayed quiet, uneasy but afraid to speak against the council. When the message reached Earth, the world stopped for a moment in every city. Screens lit up with the council's words. Submit or perish, the aliens had written. Bow or burn. Mothers clutched their children. Workers paused at their machines. Soldiers froze in silence for a heartbeat. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then slowly, the people of Earth looked at one another. They did not cry, they did not kneel. They did not despair, instead they stood taller. The insult did not break them. It bound them tighter. In factories, the machines roared louder. In shipyards, sparks flew like stars. In training grounds, soldiers stood in lines with unshaken eyes. The warning of the council became the fire that lit every human soul. The human envoy, the same who had stood before their laughter, returned to the chamber of Earth's leaders. He held the council's words in his hand, his face calm, his voice steady. They warn us, he said. They think their threats will frighten us, but they do not understand what they have done. They have united us, they have forged us, they have created the storm that will sweep them away. The leaders of Earth listened. They nodded. They signed the last agreements that bound every nation into one command. No more borders, no more divisions. Humanity became one voice, one people, one army. Above them, the stars waited, and in the shadows of those stars, the Black Armada prepared. But even as Earth moved with fire, spies of the Council tried again to pierce the silence. One ship slipped past the outer defenses, cloaked in stolen shadows. It drifted near the human fleet, unseen at first. It recorded nothing but silence. Then in the darkness, shapes began to move. Ships larger than any alien fleet, their hulls black as night, their weapons cold but alive. The spy crew stared in horror. They had never seen such vessels. Not even in the oldest wars, one whispered. This is no fleet of children. This is vengeance made of iron. They tried to flee, but they never made it. A single human missile, silent and unseen, struck the spy ship. The last thing recorded was a flare of fire. Then silence returned. The Council never received their report. Yet the rumors could not be stopped. Traitors swore they had seen the Shadow Fleet. Soldiers told tales of human weapons that ripped planets apart. The Council leaders tried to silence them, but fear had already planted its seeds. When the Council met again, arguments filled the chamber. Some demanded a strike at once to destroy Earth before it grew too strong. Others warned that rashness would invite disaster. The leader of stone raised his heavy arms once more. The humans must be crushed, he declared. But not with whispers, not with warnings. We will gather a fleet so vast, so mighty, that their world will tremble before its shadow. And so it was decided. The Council would send its greatest armada to Earth. Thousands of ships from 100 species, all to teach one small world its place. The Council believed this would end the whispers. They believed their strength was still eternal. But far away in the silence of deep space, humanity already knew. The warning had not broken them. The warning had not frightened them. The warning had forged them, and when the armada came, they would find not silence but fire. The stars themselves seemed to lean closer, waiting for the storm, waiting for the answer, for the galaxy had warned Earth, but it did not yet understand. The true warning would come from humanity, and when it came, no one would laugh again. First strike of humanity. The Galactic Armada came like a storm. Thousands of ships blotted out the stars as they descended toward the Sol system. Their hulls gleamed with silver and crystal, their banners of empire waving in the dark. The Council believed victory was certain. They believed Earth would bow in terror. They believed humanity had no chance. On every alien ship, crews laughed and boasted. "We will burn their world in a single day," one officer said. "We will crush their fleets before they even fire a shot," another added. Their voices carried the same arrogance that filled the council hall. To them, this was not war, it was punishment. But as the massive fleet moved closer, something strange happened. The space around Earth was quiet, too quiet. Alien scanners found no human ships waiting. No defenses standing, no weapons ready. The admirals of the council smiled. "See," they said, "they are nothing. They hide because they know what awaits them, and yet beneath those calm smiles, some captains felt unease. The armada drew nearer, filling the skies with light. Then, without warning, the silence broke. Shadows peeled away from the blackness of space. Massive shapes emerged, their armor dark as the void, their weapons glowing with cold fury. The Black Armada had been waiting, hidden not by tricks of light but by silence itself. The first railgun fired, a slug of metal, no larger than a man's arm, tore through shield's armor and hull of a council battleship as if it were paper. In one strike, a ship worth 1,000 alien lives became dust. Shock spread across the alien comms. What was that? How did they fire through our shields? But before answers came, the second volley struck, then the third. Missiles screamed from the shadows, their trails vanishing into the dark. They struck with silence, then bloomed with fire. Entire cruisers broke apart, scattering like ash across the void. Alien soldiers who had come laughing now screamed into comms. "We are under attack, we cannot see them. We cannot stop them." The human fleet did not move like the alien fleets. They did not fly in grand formations meant to show power. They struck in silence, vanishing before counterfire could touch them. Every human shot was calculated, every strike precise. Alien ships died one after another, and the Black Armada remained untouched. From the heart of Earth's command, the human envoy watched the battle unfold on a screen. His face calm, his voice steady. "Let them feel our silence. Let them feel the weight of their laughter." Around him, officers nodded, their hands moving across consoles with cold precision. This was not chaos, this was justice. The council's admirals shouted orders, trying to rally their fleets. They launched beams of light, storms of plasma, weapons that had crushed empires before. But the human ships danced through fire, their armor shrugging off the blasts, their weapons tearing holes where no defense could stand. One alien commander, trembling as he watched his fleet fall, whispered to his second, "They should not have this power. They should not fight like this. They are humans." They are nothing, but deep in his heart, he knew the truth. Humanity was no longer nothing. Humanity was the storm. Within hours, the Council's armada was broken. Hundreds of ships burned, thousands scattered, and still the humans pressed forward. Not with wild rage, but with cold, merciless control. Every strike told the galaxy a single truth. Earth was no longer prey. Earth was the predator. Reports raced back to the council chamber. Delegates screamed, some in denial, some in fear. "Impossible," they shouted. "They cannot stand against us." Yet the proof burned across every screen. Human weapons had done what no empire had done in centuries. They had humbled the council. In the wreckage of the battlefield, human ships floated in silence, their dark hulls untouched. No cheers rose from their crews. No laughter filled their comms. For this was not joy, this was vengeance. And vengeance was not to be celebrated but remembered. The envoy sent a single message across the stars. His voice steady, calm, almost quiet. "We are not dust, we are not weak. We are not your servants, we are humanity, and today, the galaxy learns our name." His words echoed through every surviving alien ship, through every world connected to the Council, through every heart that once laughed at Earth, and in the silence that followed, the stars themselves seemed to bow, for the first strike of humanity had begun, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. The Council in panic. The council chamber was no longer filled with laughter. The crystal ceiling still shone with stars, but now those stars seemed colder, sharper. The reports had arrived, one after another, each more terrible than the last. The great armada that was meant to crush Earth was gone. Its wreckage drifted silent through space, its fire now ashes among the void. Delegates shouted over one another, their jeweled robes twisted in frantic motion. "This cannot be," one cried. "Our fleets are invincible," another wailed. "No world has ever stood against us." their voices cracked with fear, their arrogance shattering like glass. The leader of stone slammed his heavy arms against the platform. The sound shook the chamber into silence. His eyes, once glowing with pride, now burned with fury. "How?" he demanded, his voice thunderous. "How can these humans, these primitives, defeat ships built over centuries? How can weapons of dust strike down our fleets?" But none had answers. The council turned to their war commanders. Admirals and generals stood before them. Their heads low, their voices carried shame. "They fight differently," one admitted. "They do not waste power. They strike only where it matters," another added. "Their weapons pierce our shields. Their missiles hide from our sensors. They are not clumsy. They are precise." The words tasted like poison, but they were true. Panic grew. Some delegates demanded an immediate second strike. Others screamed that they must open peace talks before it was too late. The chamber dissolved into chaos. One voice rose above the storm, a thin, sharp delegate with wings of glass. "We mocked them. We gave them no choice but to unite. We pushed them into the fire, and now they are steel." His words fell heavy on every ear. Far across the galaxy, common people whispered in fear. They no longer laughed at Earth. They spoke in hushed tones of the Black Armada, of railguns that tore ships apart, of missiles that burned without light. Merchants avoided human space. Soldiers spoke of resigning rather than facing them. And children who once joked about humans now whispered stories of their fury in the dark. The council tried to regain control. They declared the first battle only a mistake. They promised their people that new fleets would be built, stronger, larger, unstoppable. But behind their words, doubt grew like a shadow. They had seen the recordings. They had seen how humans fought. Not with glitter, not with pride, but with silence and precision. One young commander, brave enough to speak, raised his voice. "We thought them weak because they had no teleporters, no quantum drives, but they built railguns that tear our shields apart. They built armor that ignores our fire. They built unity where we have only arrogance," his words echoed. And though the council tried to silence him, every delegate knew he spoke the truth. In private chambers, the most powerful leaders met in secret, their voices low, their faces pale. "If humanity can destroy one armada, they can destroy another," one said. "If they can fight like this now, what will they become in a century?" another whispered. None of them laughed anymore, and yet pride chained them. They could not admit weakness, not to each other, not to the galaxy. To admit fear of humans would mean their empires were fragile. So they told the people what they wanted to hear. They promised victory, even as fear bled through their voices. But not all were blind. A few wise leaders looked at the stars and felt the weight of what was coming. They remembered the envoy, the quiet human who had spoken in calm tones. They remembered his silence. They remembered his steady eyes, and they understood. The laughter had been a mistake. In the shadows of their thoughts, they saw the truth. Humanity would not stop. Humanity would not bow. Humanity would rise, and the galaxy would pay for every insult, every sneer, every cruel word thrown into that council hall. The council chamber burned with panic that could not be hidden. Their voices no longer sounded like rulers of the stars. They sounded like prey. For the predator they mocked had finally bared its teeth. And in the silence between shouts, every delegate felt the same dread. The stars had changed, the galaxy had changed, and nothing would ever be the same again. Humanity's message. The wreckage of the Armada still drifted across the stars. Broken ships floated like tombs in the void, their twisted metal shining faintly against the darkness. Survivors whispered through damaged comms, their voices heavy with disbelief. The fleets of the Great Council, once feared by every world, had fallen to the power of Earth on Earth. Silence filled the command chambers. There were no cheers, no celebrations. Human officers stood at their stations, their eyes steady, their hands still moving across consoles. For this was not victory to celebrate. This was vengeance carried out. And vengeance was not joy, it was duty, the envoy. The same man who had once endured laughter in the council hall stood before the screens. His face was calm, his voice clear. "Now we speak," he said, and a signal was sent. A message that would echo through every system, across every world, into every ear of the galaxy. The message began with silence. For a long moment, the stars carried nothing. Then came the envoy's voice, steady and sharp. "You mocked us," he said. "You called us weak. You called us dust. You called us nothing." His words struck with more weight than weapons. For they were the words every delegate remembered. The insults they had thrown, but hear us now, he continued. We are humanity, we are not weak, we are not dust. We are not your slaves, we are the storm you created. We are the fire you fed. We are the silence that waited, and now you will remember us. The message spread like lightning. Alien worlds stopped in their tracks to listen. Workers in shipyards froze. Soldiers dropped their tools. Children stared wide-eyed at the voice that carried across the stars. The council chamber itself fell silent as the words echoed through its crystal halls. No one laughed this time. The envoy did not shout, he did not boast. His voice was calm, almost quiet. But that quiet was heavier than thunder. We did not ask for war. We did not seek your scorn, we came in peace. But you mocked us, you insulted us, and you threatened us. Now you have your answer, images followed his words. Screens lit with footage of the battle, alien fleets burning, ships breaking under the fire of railguns, missiles striking with merciless precision. The galaxy saw their invincible armada die before human hands. No lie could hide it, no denial could erase it. The envoy's voice returned. We do not ask for your pity, we do not ask for your mercy. We demand only respect if you wish for peace. Then treat us as equals if you wish for war. Then know this, every star you rule, every fleet you command, every world you hold, will burn beneath the Black Armada. The words sank deep into every corner of the galaxy. Some alien leaders trembled with rage. Others trembled with fear. The common people whispered in awe. For never before had a species spoken with such calm defiance. Never before had a people risen so quickly. In the council chamber, chaos broke again. Delegates argued, shouted, some calling for surrender, others for revenge. The leader of stone tried to silence them, but even his voice faltered. The envoy's words still echoed in the chamber, stronger than the cries of 100 rulers. Meanwhile, on human worlds, the people listened in silence. Their hearts burned with pride, their eyes shone with fire. The message was not only for the galaxy, it was for them. A promise that they were no longer weak, no longer divided, they were humanity. United, unbroken, unafraid, a young human soldier, standing in a training field, whispered the envoy's words. We are the storm you created. And around him, others repeated the phrase until it became a chant, a vow, a truth carried in every heart across alien systems. The message could not be stopped. Even where leaders tried to block it, it slipped through like fire through cracks. Some aliens listened with fear, others with respect. A few even whispered admiration. They do not beg, they do not kneel. They stand, and the galaxy knew the truth. Earth had spoken, and the stars themselves seemed to listen. The envoy ended with silence once more. His last words sharp as iron. We are humanity, and we will not forget. The signal cut, and the galaxy was left in the quiet weight of his words. In that silence, even the council knew. The age of laughter was over. The age of humanity had begun. The stars remember. The council chamber was silent. For the first time in its long history, no laughter, no boasting, no cruel words echoed within its crystal walls. Delegates who once raised their voices in arrogance now sat in uneasy silence. The envoy's message still weighed upon them. Heavy as iron, the leader of stone tried to speak, but his voice was no longer thunder. It was tired, uncertain. We cannot ignore them, he said. We cannot pretend they are dust. Humanity has risen, and we must decide, do we face them with war again? Or do we accept them as equals? His words trembled, something none had ever heard before. Some delegates shouted for vengeance. We must crush them before they grow stronger, they cried. Others argued with fear in their voices. We already tried and we lost. Another armada will only feed their fire. The chamber dissolved into argument. But beneath it all, every leader knew the truth. Humanity had already changed the galaxy. On distant worlds, the people spoke differently now. No longer mocking Earth, no longer laughing at humans. They whispered with awe. They told stories of the Black Armada, of missiles that struck like shadows, of railguns that tore apart the proud fleets of the Council. Mothers told their children, do not laugh at the humans, do not mock them, for they are stronger than any of us believed. Merchants changed their routes, avoiding Earth not out of scorn but out of respect. Soldiers of alien empires began to train harder, no longer with pride but with fear of facing humanity in battle. In every corner of the galaxy, the name of Earth carried weight it had never known before. On Earth itself, the people stood united, their cities rebuilt stronger, their fleets larger, their armies sharper. The envoy walked among them, his eyes calm, his heart steady. He did not smile, he did not boast. He simply watched the Black Armada as it grew, for he knew vengeance was not an ending. It was a beginning, in a private council on Earth. Leaders spoke quietly. "They will remember us now," one said. "But memory fades," another replied. "We must never let them forget. We must always stand ready. For respect is born of fear, and fear must never sleep." And so humanity prepared not only for this war, but for all wars to come. Back in the Galactic Council, fear finally broke arrogance. The great empires, one by one, agreed to offer humanity a seat among them. Not out of kindness, not out of welcome, but out of survival. They hoped that by giving Earth a place, they could control the storm, but they misunderstood again. When the offer reached Earth, the envoy stood before the leaders of humanity, his voice calm as always. "They invite us now, not because they respect us, but because they fear us," he said. "We will accept only on our terms. We will bow to no one. We will sit as equals, not as servants." His words were carried back across the stars, and the council, though bitter, could not refuse, and so for the first time, the humans walked into the council hall not as mocked envoys, but as rulers of their own destiny. The laughter that had once filled the chamber was gone, replaced by silence. As the human envoy took his place, the delegates looked at him not with scorn but with caution, some with respect, some with fear, but none with laughter. The stars themselves seemed to remember, for in every system, every world, every fleet, the story of Earth's vengeance spread. It was told in whispers, in songs, in warnings. The galaxy spoke of the day humanity rose, the day the council mocked them and paid the price. The day silence turned into fire. The envoy, standing tall beneath the crystal ceiling, spoke only a few words. "We are humanity, we remember, and so will you." The chamber bowed in silence. And beyond the chamber, the galaxy itself bowed too, for the stars remembered they would always remember. The day Earth rose from dust to fire, from silence to storm, from nothing to everything, and the galaxy would never laugh again.